this is Bill Wardell, your host for Keeping Our Kids Safe. Our video series is called Kids Helping Kids. It's a wonderful premise. I love the fact that I was able to incorporate this into our new platform that we're working with. Kids need our help, and really the premise is, and if you go and read the lyrics, Buzzy Martin was just fantastic as far as what he offered us. He offered us his song that he had created about this, and you can check out the lyrics on koksradio.com. That's very cool, and part of it, in the beginning, it just says we're all kids helping kids. In other words, when I was a kid and I was growing up, a lot of the friends that I had, the functions that we went to, I still know those guys, and I still live in the same community. So it's really fun for me as far as a parent raising my kids in this day and age, because we live in the same community I grew up in, and that's not always the case, and a lot of times it's really hard for families to do that with work and the changing economy. Sometimes people just can't do that, and especially extended family. I think a lot of the bonding that used to go on in the 60s and 70s and some in the 80s, and it started changing in the 90s as this world kind of explosion happened, and the growth of our country and the growth of the worldwide global network, that so people could work all over the world, still stay in touch, still be intact, and now even with the way that Skype and a lot of the video conferencing things, now people can stay completely in touch even if they're clear across the world, or if they're over battling in a war somewhere, they're able to get live feeds. And very, very cool. I love technology, and it's just such an asset to everything that we do, and you just want to remember it's a tool. The best way to look at this is it's just like having a really good hammer and a really good nail, and you go out and you start building your home. And probably when I was in my, I'm going to say in my early 20s, I'd go out on construction sites, and there was guys all the time pounding nails, and I was in that industry for about 20 years, and as the industry continued to grow, continued to progress, the really cool thing was they would actually have these nail guns that would do 5 times, 10 times the amount of work that they were able to do in the same amount of time. Very cool. So that's all technology is. It's just a great tool. It's just better than it was 10 or 15 years ago. So if that's the case, and we understand that, and we've been talking a lot about kids' problems, we need to really think about cyberbullying. But think about it in terms of your child going to school. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is I was happening to talk to my wife, and she was relaying an experience that she had talked to a gentleman with this week about bullying in school and what happened and how it was handled. You need to know that that's a really difficult situation, especially if you get in the middle of it, whether you're the parent of the bully or if you're the parent of the victim. And in this particular case, the bully was relentless, never let up. Finally, the kid that was being bullied had enough, retaliated, and in the process of retaliating, of course, technically, he broke the rules of the school by fighting, and so he was going to be suspended for his action. And the parent took that upon themselves to talk to the school board to really get a part of what was going on, and come to find out, the whole story unfolded. And once the principal and the school superintendent found out exactly what was going on, how this all played out, they reinstated him, and everything turned out. But that's not the way it happens. This parent was not going to allow that to happen. He'd been a part of his kid's life. His kid was telling him about bullying, because his dad was involved in his life. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of times bullies and cyberbullies, they go unattended. I mean, their parents are off working or doing something else, or not involved in the child's life, and the victim, which would be your child, is not telling you because a lot of things are going on, especially if it has anything to do with computers. They figure you're going to just take the computer away, and a lot of times that may work in some situations, but it especially the last 5 years, it's just going to alienate your kids from you. They're going to figure out a way to go online, so they need to go online responsibly. And in this particular case, it worked out fine, and I was glad to hear that. But had it not, when my wife was telling me this story, this is the book that I want to recommend. It's called Hey, Back Off, and the author was on our show, and that's actually published by 2 different authors, and it's Jeannie Withers and Phyllis Hendrickson, and she's a PhD, and Jeannie has been in the school. Both of these ladies have been in school education from a psychology side and from a teacher's side. They put together this wonderful book, and hopefully you can see this. It says Tips for Harassment. Stopping harassment. And that's what this is really about. It's not about bullying. It's not about cyberbullying. It's actually a form of harassment. So you need to know that. You need to understand that harassment is actually the umbrella that all of these behaviors fall underneath of. And once you do that, then it gives you tremendous power. In other words, if your children are being bullied, you can use this to leverage the laws in your town. If you just go and say, my child's being cyberbullied, if they have time to work on it, they may work on it. If they don't, they're just going to take your report and leave it at that and say, you know, until there's physical contact, we really can't do anything against that individual. You need to be aware that you don't have to have it that way. You can actually use the harassment laws in your favor for your child, or if you're an adult and if the same thing is happening to you, whether it's a stalking incident, whether it's harassment at work, whether it's sexual harassment at work, whether it's, you know, even in this day and age, there's online bullying that goes on with adults. So in any of those situations, this book clearly defines what you need to do from a legal standpoint. It gives you, it gives you actually options that you can use. And if you do this, you're going to be so much better off when you actually have to take it to court, because there's steps that you need to follow, there's things that you need to copy. So I highly recommend this book. It's on Amazon. You can check it out. It's on our website as well. You can get the link from there. It takes you directly to the book. You can see my recommendation for the book there, and you know, and I highly recommend that when you take that link, go to Amazon and read some of the reviews of the book. You're going to find out that it's an amazing book. When she came on our show, she basically changed my total perspective about cyberbullying, and what I've been talking about for the past almost 8 years just really kind of went up in smoke, because I realized this was the thing that everybody was missing, and the fact that it was a part of harassment and not just its own entity outside of harassment. So keep that in mind. Check that book out. If your kids are coming home and showing any kinds of signs of just being not their normal self, please sit down and talk to them. There's something going on. I promise you, every single kid, you know when things are going good and you know when things are not going good, because you're their parents. And be involved. We talk about the 4 cornerstones of what we do at KOKS. We have 4 cornerstones. One is, the first is communication. You need to be communicating with your kids all the time. What does that mean, communication? It actually is kind of a misnomer, because really what communication is you listening. You asking a question and you listening, rather than you giving advice and expecting your kids to listen. So that's the first point. Second point is awareness. If you're not aware of what's going on the web, I'm constantly aware of what's going on the web, because that's what I do for a living every single day, is I do research and find out what's going on so I can help parents. Check out our site, keepingourkidssafe.co. It's a company site. It's not .com, a commerce site. It is keepingourkidssafe.co. We have tons of information on there. Just click the link at the top that says specialty articles, and you're on your way. You're going to have all the information you need to really begin the process of helping your kids. And just being aware of just your surroundings. Like I said, if your kid comes home and he's feeling down and he's looking down, there's a reason, and you just need to be aware of that and not just put it off. You know, if he says, oh, I'm okay, I'm alright, you know there's still something wrong. I mean, I can do that to my wife. I can say, oh, it's alright, don't worry about it, and she knows something's going on, so she'll keep asking me questions. And that's what you need to do with your kids. You need to keep asking them questions, because eventually they're going to go ahead and do what they need to do to kind of work through it themselves, and then they're going to say, hey, Mom and Dad, this is what's going on, can you help me? And you only got to do that a couple of times, and once the child knows that you will be there in their corner no matter what, that communication thing and awareness thing, it just takes care of itself. You're going to know. And teaching. Teaching is the third cornerstone. That's the best part. That's what I learn here. I love sharing with you what you learn on your daily basis, what you've learned out through your life. That's the best part of sharing that with your kids, giving them a head start. You know, if you were, you know, it's kind of like Donald Trump. You know, why are his 3 kids working for him? Because they respected him, and they knew he worked hard, and they knew that he did what he needed to do to be a great leader and a great man. So they follow his way of doing things. Now, did Donald Trump make mistakes? Oh, heavens, yes. We know Donald Trump's life, and we know everything about him. But, you know, the people that I've known that make the most mistakes are usually the most successful, and Donald Trump will tell you that. that the mistakes that he made helped him to be a better man. He's a better man today than he was 20 years ago. And his kids are a byproduct of that. So that's a great example of looking at from a business side. And then there's families in your own community right now that you can look up to as just being good, honest, hardworking people that maybe don't have the lifestyle or the pressure. My goodness, the pressure that Donald Trump has is enormous. With enormous wealth comes enormous responsibility and pressure, and that's something a lot of people don't think about when they're in search of the almighty dollar. Sometimes you're not ready to handle that. It's a lifelong process. And so, same thing with your kids. When they're dealing with issues, they don't know how to handle that, so share with them. And last but not least is action. If you do those first three things and you don't follow through, then your kids are going to suffer. Your kids are going to feel like that, mom and dad talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, everything they told us, they do the opposite of that. They pick up their cell phones and start talking on them. They don't unplug from the internet. They don't listen to me when I come home from school. That's when you start having these kind of issues go unnoticed. So please take those 4 cornerstones. We have a whole list of things on our website. You're going to love the story that's behind why I feel like these are the 4 most important points of helping your children. Appreciate you being here today. Think it won't happen to you Thursday. I know we talk a lot about 4 or 5 different things on Thursday, but they're the most relevant things. Cyberbullying, sexting, pornography, drugs and alcohol, and 3 or 4 other really high priority things with your kids. But those 4 main areas is where your kids are being attacked, and their battles every single day are with those 4 issues. So anyway, it's great to share with you. Appreciate all of the support. My goodness, we've had such a great outpouring of feedback for the things that we're doing right now. Appreciate every one of you doing that and making me a part of your lives and a part of your family's lives. We'll see you next time on Keeping Our Kids Safe, and you have a great day and a safe day, and especially your kids. Do everything you can to keep them safe, and we'll talk to you soon now. Bye-bye.